Look, I know we're tired of the Albanese government and its constant references to the 9 years of Liberal government which preceded it, but the one point on which they do have a very valid argument is the fact that what I long regarded as reckless spending by the Morrison and Frydenberg government has resulted in debt reaching $1 trillion. That significantly limits government's capacity to do things that are needed. For example, improve the plight of aged care, the salaries paid to aged care staff. Within the budget framework, spend money to harvest water. There ain't no money. There is talk of increasing the salaries of so-called good teachers, which is not a federal government issue, I might add, but there is no evidence that that would produce better classroom results. And anyway, how do you evaluate the good teacher? But back to this issue of debt, which the previous government didn't seem to worry about, but will have to be addressed. As you know, I've long argued that the real problem is governments create this kind of mess and then leave others to pay for it. And if something's not done, your kids will be paying for this for generations to come. So what do? We can cut expenditure. Not many politicians have the ticker for that. Or you can raise taxes. That's something politicians also balk at. But it depends on where you go to raise the taxes. Now, hang on to your seats. I've spoken before to Tim Buckley, who's a global energy analyst and a director of the think tank Climate Energy Finance. He's written an outstanding piece in relation to the issue of fossil fuels and the extraordinary profits being made from international commodity prices following Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Now, you'd have to be living under a rock to not know that prices are going through the roof, commodity prices through the roof. It has to be conceded that if we want investment in this country, we have to respect the right of companies and individuals who take risks to be appropriately rewarded. It's usually called profit. But as Tim Buckley has argued, offering one simple example, and I quote, in the financial year 2021, fossil fuel exports were $69.7 billion. Good news. But state and federal royalties were a piddling $4.4 billion. The piddling's my words, not Tim's. So that's a rough rule of thumb tax rate of 6%. Is this an adequate return to government receipts? Well, Tim Buckley joins me. Tim, thank you for your time and a most instructive piece of writing. I mean, no one's opposed to profits, indeed good profits, because you can only pay for jobs out of profit. And there has to be an incentive to encourage business to take the risk. But are these super profits? And are the current tax and royalty regimes denying federal and state governments and indirectly the taxpayer legitimate revenue?
Thanks, Alan. Yes, and we certainly agree on that. We have, as you said, the federal government has inherited $1 trillion of debt. We are all going to be paying for that for decades to come. And so I am pointing the finger firmly at a group of companies that need to pay what I consider to be even a remotely fair share of corporate tax. And at the end of the day, they're also using public assets for their private gain. So they need to pay a fair degree of royalties on those finite assets. And so with that, I'm talking about the royalty, the PRRT, the Petroleum Rent Resources Tax, or in New South Wales, the coal royalty that is a limited resource and it is different to corporate tax. So I would stress that I'm recommending a reform of the royalty systems and a cleaning up of the multinational tax.